Stop right there, okay? Do not scroll to the comments right now as soon as you click on the video and then type, oh, this guy has no clue, the autofill games are lower quality, this guy doesn't play, I don't play that role. Listen, hear me out. Hear me out. I'll change your mind on Autofill and why Autofill is actually carrying the game. If you guys don't know me, I'm Azzapp, and I got 4 different challenger accounts on 4 different regions, including an NA 150 ping in Korea. And I also finished IT University, and I'm very, very passionate about game design. So hear me out. I'll try to speak as a dev and as a league player and try to change your mind. Okay, is it time for our daily Autofill conversation, guys? Yeah, most people don't understand where I'm going with the Autofill thing. I mean, I had a comment from Azzapp, and I had a lot of comments on the video. So I'm gonna go through a few here, and I'm gonna try to really elaborate my position, and I feel like everyone's missing the mark. My opinion is that Autofill is carrying the game because people learn passively. The knowledge seeps into them by being Autofill, so they actually learn how to play other roles, and by playing other roles you actually get better at your own role, and you get better at a team game, which makes the game way more playable. My argument is that if you remove Autofill, the game is going to become super shit in a few months, and it's going to be borderline unplayable in years because of the lack of knowledge. I just want to play and have fun. I don't care about filling out my knowledge, fam. And playing mid as a jungler is not fun for me or my teammates that have to deal with it. Yeah, like the whole point is to sacrifice minor amount of fun right now. It's like a taxed game. It's like a game where you invest in future. Because if you don't do that, players just become eventually brain dead. This is pretty much impossible to prove. It's just a theoretical model that I think. But some people like really advocate for the removal of Autofill. I advocate for keeping it because, well, here are my reasons. If they ever cave to pressure and remove Autofill, you will see the extent of damage it will cause down the line. It's not a minor sacrifice. Jungle versus mid is a huge difference. Just honestly don't want to learn any role at a higher level. See, like, you're not really learning it at a higher level. You're learning it at a base fundamental level. And that's the whole point. Because in order to become better at your own role, you need to learn other roles at a fundamental level. You need to develop things. You need to slowly develop. So let's say these are the roles. Okay, you have top, jungle, mid, ADC, and then support. Okay, and you're a jungler and your knowledge is like this. Okay, it's this type of constellation. If you want to become a better jungler, you are stretching this line very, very thin, and it's very difficult. You become very, very capped over here. So it would be a lot easier if you play top 1 or 2 games, if you play mid 1 or 2 games, ADC 1 or 2 games, support 1 or 2 games. You understand the fundamentals of the game a lot better, and then your constellation becomes a lot easier to curve upwards. Okay, so by learning other roles, you become better at your own role, and the gameplay in general becomes more enjoyable because you understand more. And this is just at a passive level. You don't necessarily have to notice this for it to happen, but Autofill is doing this work in the backline. Now you're saying like, oh, the game is just boring because I'm Autofill, and like it's harder, like I just want to play for my LP. Yeah, but like LP and game knowledge, Autofill knowledge of other roles should play into that. Enemy players get Autofill, your teammates get Autofill. The way you handle the Autofill directly correlates like with your game knowledge and skill and rank, and that's why you should go up, and that's how you go up. So yeah, like this, like not sacrificing minor amount of fun for the betterment of like long term. I don't know, like what would be a good analogy? Imagine you have like a very, very poor neighborhood with a bunch of poor kids. So why would you sacrifice your time and money to invest into a poor neighborhood with poor kids? Because, well, let's be real, they're not contributing anything. You're just not having fun at the moment and utilizing your time. Well, because in the long term it's gonna pay you off much, much more than whatever the fuck you can do in the current time. So invest in poor neighborhood and kids. We also had comments on the video, and there's a short on Autofill, and there's like a lot of comments. I feel that about those games which you have 3 Autofills, and then I don't know if you have 3 Autofills. People call Autofill when they get their secondary role, and that's also part of the reason, because people get to choose their role, so they become very, very spoiled, and if they don't get their main role, they call it Autofill. Oh, I'm playing the role I selected. I'm Autofill. No, you're not! You picked the fucking role. Yeah, probably people don't learn these things when they play fill roles because they don't take a learning mentality for those. Everyone learns at all times. This is just outright not true. Like, you experience that. Like, even if you don't hyper focus on it, you're still experiencing it, and through empiricism eventually you slowly seeps into you and you become better. Who's gonna perform better on a Mumu? Guy who played a Mumu casually 10 times, or guy who never played it? The guy who played it 10 times. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you more on this. My argument is just Autofill is good. It's very, very hard to swallow right now. You really have to be able to think about long term and not think about the game in the current time and discomfort you feel while playing it, or I got inted. You can't get emotional, oh, I got inted, or my jungler performed not up to par when he was Autofill. Like, wow, you know? And the community completely demonizing Autofill, that's also a huge fucking issue. A lot of big streamers criticize Autofill, they dodge Autofill on the spot, they dodge Autofill players, they completely complain about it, they don't want to play it. They created this very, very demonized environment about Autofill where like they just use dodge basically. Like these filthy, whitewashed the dodge abusers, complain about autofill all the time, and they really min-max the games. They're completely tarnishing and tainting the solo queue experience. Solo queue is in the most purest form, is pure chaos, which means nobody does these external controls. You play the game, the algorithm works on you, you play a bunch of games, eventually you are where you belong. You don't min-max, you don't dodge, you don't do this to mess up with the algorithm, and that would be very, very healthier for everybody. So dodging shouldn't have been a mechanic. Autofill is good because it's the only thing keeping you from actually like forgetting other roles. If you play 2 years and then the jungle changes and support changes, alcohol happen, and you're a mid laner, you're clueless if you never got autofilled. How do you understand the bot lane dynamic if people are playing around the alcoves, around like different trading patterns? There's a different brush that appeared, there's a different vendor, there's a different item situation happening, jungle is completely different, objectives are different, and you're playing one role. Like, you're gonna be so far behind in terms of knowledge that you're gonna be essentially useless, and you will never be able to peak to the next level. Why don't we, in society, why don't we just tell people what to do, or like specialize kids from like 3 years of age, specialize them into something? Because you can't. They're gonna be clueless about everything. Like, why don't you just get a kid of 4 years and start educating him in software dev? He's gonna be the best coder in the world. No, he's not, because he needs fundamental knowledge to build on top of. Like, he needs to know a little bit of geography. He needs to know a little bit about politics, about economics, because then he can understand the geopolitical sphere, and then he can understand like how like time zones work when he wants to code. He needs to know how outsourcing works. He needs to know all of these different things, like all different like cultures, aspects. Like, it's a lot easier to build on fundamental, like on a solid foundation of knowledge. It's a lot easier to build. You can't just go like build like a fucking tower, you know, it's gonna come crashing. You need soil. People don't want to get better at the game, they want to climb. Exactly. That's part of the reason. And they don't understand that they're putting like the cart in front of the horse. Like, they just want to climb. They just want the visuals. They just want the numbers to go up without their skill going up. And their skill has to go up before the numbers will go up. And people just don't understand that, and they try to skip that part. They will min-max with the dodging. They will min-max by specializing only one thing and trying to cheat the system and get like higher peak. But like, your area of knowledge is like way lower. Like, if you're just pulling the peak, your area of knowledge is terrible. Whereas if you do this, the area goes like insanely. I guess the issue with people demonizing autofill also comes from the impact of autofill versus main jungle. Yes, but let's look at why that is. Why do you think it's so impactful when autofill is playing versus a main jungler? Because jungle has ridiculous impact on the game, and the role has been broken. So obviously, if somebody impacts the game twice as much as they should, you having an autofill is gonna twice as much hurt you. That's not the problem with autofill. That is the problem with jungle being broken, and that's being addressed as we speak. I feel like it's time that League of Legends implement a role-based MMR like a lot of competitive games. No, this doesn't work in League of Legends. Where does this end? Okay, you got only mid lane rating, so you play mid lane Vel'Koz. What if I go support Vel'Koz? Am I now a bronze player? No, I'm not. They tried this, and I criticized this before they released it. And they released it, and they had to pull it back after months and reset the entire ladder because it was so fucking bad. It doesn't work. League of Legends is not that type of game where you can do positional ranking. How do you transfer knowledge? It's not a clear cut. It's not like a semantical game and like neat boxes where you can just put in, oh, I'm a mid laner, oh, I'm this. No, like, I'm a mid laner, but like, I'll perform better on a mage than I'll play on an assassin. I'll play Vel'Koz support better than 99.99% supports in the game, but I'm not a support main. I can play AP carry. Like, where's my skill lie? Positional ranking simply doesn't work. It just doesn't work for a game this all-encompassing, and that's precisely why autofill is good. It's for the same exact reason, because you're not playing one role, you're playing all of them. Like, when you're playing a game, ideally, you're projecting what everyone else is doing. You're projecting what the enemies are doing, all 5 enemies, and all 5 of your teammates what they're doing. And the more knowledge you have on both sides, the better of a player you are, and better you can perform at your own role. So your own role MMR is tainted by your knowledge of other roles. They implemented it before. I don't know why people are trying to like restart fucking communism again. It doesn't work. Like, look, the positional ranking doesn't work. If they implement it again, it's gonna fail again. Trust me. What they've never tried is voice chat, and voice chat will work. Shut up, communist.